So it's April, and of course, I'm way behind on what I should be doing. Right now, I'm on the way to the community garden plot, where I'm going to start planting my victory garden. What is a victory garden really, but just a garden, right? Except you're trying to get self-sufficiency. Not necessarily self-reliance, but self-sufficiency. So you don't have to rely upon the grocery stores for all of your food. As the name of my channel indicates, we're trying to grow a supermarket in our own backyard, right? And there's so much traffic this morning. So I'm going down to the plot to plant my onions down there. I got a little bit of maintenance to do down there as well. So I'll be with you in a second as I get over to the plot. So I'm at the plot, and this is the large bed and then the 3 smaller beds. And this is the one bed I was talking about. This is purple dead nettle, and I don't know if it's beneficial or not. I know it's a pain in the neck. So I'm going to use this pretty nifty landscape rake that should just pull all this right out of the ground. As you can see, all the hay that I put down decomposed on here. You can see little remnants here still, but most of it decomposed into the soil, which is what I wanted. Of course, I didn't want this. And then I'll be pulling up my rutabaga that I had left in the ground. That one might be useful. Maybe that one. I'm not sure what's going on with those two there, but we'll see. But the rest, as you can see, of the beds, they're all weed free. As I said, this was cardboard, and then grass clippings, shredded leaves, and then compost on top. So that seems to work. Got a few things over here. I'm not sure what they are. And I got the strawberries that are going to end up being moved. I actually have to think about where I'm going to be putting my onions, but I think they're going to be going right along this bed here, all the way up the row, the entire row. And have one, the red onions, and then the next one, the yellow onions. I should have plenty to go the entire length. We'll see. Unfortunately, the rake didn't do as good of a job on the weeds as I anticipated it would. So that's going to be a hand weeding thing. I don't think I'm going to bother with that today. I'm going to be down tomorrow to plant my potatoes. I'll leave that chore until then. So I'm going to get to planting the onions. So I got my onions here. These are the reds over here and the yellows here. These are a couple of onions from last year that sprouted. So I'm going to throw them in the ground too. I tried to put a couple in containers just to see if, how that would work. And then I just kept the others loose until I was ready to plant. So now I'm going to be putting them all in the ground. Just for demonstration purposes, I got my square foot marker. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this line. I'm actually going to use this line too, both of these lines. And I'm just going to run it all the way down, just making a mark where the plants will go. And then I'll come back with a big dibber and open those holes up so that I can just drop the plugs right in. So this is one of the plugs for the red onions. It's got some nice little root growth, although it's starting to get root bound there. So it's good that I'm doing it now. Although, as I said, I'm behind probably by about 2 weeks. But I guess with the cold weather we ended up having, that freezing snap of 20-degree temperatures, maybe it was a good thing they were kept indoors a little while longer. So I'm going to get these in the ground now. I'm going to tease them apart and then put one in each hole. So it's a good thing. I mean, onions are relatively easy to undo. Their roots untangle very simply because they're kind of wiry. So they come apart very easy. Maybe not so much one-handed, but by 2 hands. See, actually even one-handed I can do this. And you don't want to plant them too deep in the ground, because you'll have problems with them bulbing up then. So just placing it in the holes and going along. So I've got the red peppers planted in the garden, and there's 52 of them. So there'll be another 52 white ones to go in alongside of them. And I had a couple of red ones left over, so I'm going to plant them in a bucket or something at home and just grow them there. I think I'm going to have more of the yellow ones than I did of the red ones, so I'll probably be planting a bunch of these at home too, because as I've mentioned, I absolutely hate throwing away a seedling. So I've got the 2 rows planted, and as I said, you really don't want them in there very deep. You want them shallow, almost falling over. They'll straighten themselves up. And I actually had, as I said, quite a few more white onions than red onions, yellow onions than red onions. But that's okay. As I said, I'm going to plant them at home somewhere. So now I'm just going to give them, just water them in, and we'll be good for to come down and plant the potatoes. But I'm going to pull up my rutabagas and see what we've got. Yeah, it should be fine. Yeah, that's nothing. That's not too bad. We can use it. Oh. Again, not too bad. We're going to leave the soil in the garden, and that's nice to see. Got a worm here, so the cardboard underneath doesn't block the worms from coming through. All right, we won't use that one. That one's kind of narrow. And we got a worm hanging out at the bottom of this. So we got a little bit of rutabaga, and that maybe I'll use for dinner today. It's the next day, and I'm going to be planting the potatoes today. Most of them are looking pretty good. Does look like they all, or most, bounced back. And so we're getting growth everywhere, even where there's some not really showing. And you see some just starting to pop up. But plants all seem to have survived. Even here where we got this dieback here, got some nice lush growth coming up here. So they all look like they're pretty much set to grow for the season, except maybe not over here. These were the ones, as I mentioned, were the mix of just the plants and plant and potato. So this one I think has a potato in it. These others, I just think they had the just the plants, the sprouts that I had broken off. There might be something just growing up here. So I'm going to hold off on these just a little while longer. Maybe I'll put these in buckets. These are all going down at the community garden plot, and they'll be planted in the beds down there. Hopefully, even on some that aren't showing any, oh no, actually they're all showing growth. I was thinking this one didn't have any growth, but nope, there it is. So good. Looks like they all survived. Now these over here, these are the red Nordlands, and these are the Yukons. The Yukons really not showing anything. That's the only sign of life here. So hopefully we're gonna get something. These are gonna be going in buckets, so I can let these wait a while longer yet. Hopefully we'll get something out of that. So I'm gonna take these down to the Victory Garden and plant them down there. Between the earthquake the other day and the solar eclipse tomorrow, who knows whether there'll be any plants to plant after that, right? Everything's coming to an end. It's end times for the world. But I think this does actually show, again, why you need to grow your own groceries here. The federal government, for some reason, has been warning to stock up on food and gas and all this other stuff ahead of the eclipse. It's an eclipse. Why do we need to stock up on all this stuff? And that's why you need to have your own food supply. So hopefully we'll be going and doing our part towards that. Now I know you can plant by the phases of the moon. Can you plant by a solar eclipse? We'll find out. Loading up my potatoes here to take to the plot, and I'm noticing something interesting. From here over are the potatoes that I stored in the refrigerator over the winter. And from here to here are the ones that stayed in the root cellar. These look like they're struggling more to bounce back than these did. I'm just wondering if storing them in the refrigerator makes them hardier than keeping them in the root cellar. Maybe it's just coincidence, but you gotta say there's a stark difference between the two sets of potatoes. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this rake and I'm just disturbing the top of the soil here just to give me a planting row, and then using one rake width wide on either side, I then go over here and do it again. So right now I just got 3 rows just to see how this is going to go, because I'm still debating what I'm going to be doing. That way the plants will have room for air to move between them, and I'll have room to walk between them to harvest. Okay, I got my spacing all mapped out for the potatoes. This is just 42 potatoes though. These are the ones that were left in that were saved from in the root cellar, and I got 3 more over there. They're not showing any real growth right now. Those were in the refrigerator. So these I'm just going to end up planting in the buckets, along with the Yukons, the Red Nordlands, and the Sarpomira. So these all go into buckets. This will be my potato bed. I mean, I'll be able to plant more in here during the summer months. So now that I've got them spaced out where I want, now I have to decide how I want to do it. Normal way is to dig a trench and then you put your potatoes into the ground. I might just dig a hole at each spot and plant the potatoes. I should have brought my post hole digger. That would have worked. So I'm going to just dig a hole. I'm going to do one at a time, and I'm going to put organic fertilizer in at the bottom. Ideally you want something like a 5-10-10, because you want your potatoes to concentrate on growing roots and not necessarily the greenery. By doing it this way, you don't have to worry about that. You've already got the roots. You've got shoots, you've got roots. So what I'm doing is putting in basically a balanced organic fertilizer. This is a 4-5-5. So it is focusing more on the roots than on the tops, but it's a balanced fertilizer. It's going to be put in the hole, so it'll be right at the root level. And as it breaks down over time, it'll be available to the plant. So as I said, normally you want to concentrate on the phosphate and the potassium, not the nitrogen. But because we do have roots, our plants are established, and I think that's why this is actually a good way to start your potatoes. You can let them hit the ground running. So I'm just taking a handful and throwing it into the hole. Because it's organic, it's not going to burn the roots. If I took non-organic fertilizer and I put it in the hole, it could very well burn the roots and kill the plant. That we don't have to worry about here. So I'm just taking a handful, throwing it in the bottom. I'm going to put the plant in right on top of it, and then we'll backfill around it. So I'm guessing because of the setback it suffered from the frost, roots aren't quite as established, at least on this plant, as they otherwise would be. Maybe when we look at that one, it'll be different. But it does have roots, does have chutes, so we're ready to go and just place it right in the ground, just like that. And then we'll backfill some of this dirt around it. And actually you can see my cardboard here. You can see the grass clippings and the organic matter that we had right on top. So I'll finish backfilling around this one and then I'll do the others. Okay, I did the first row and I'm not going to do it that way again. I think the trench is going to be better. This took freaking forever and it was a pain in the neck. So I'm just going to, on this one, dig a trench and then put the fertilizer in the trench, put the plants in, and then backfill around them. All right, the trench was a little bit easier to dig, although my back isn't quite what it used to be a few years ago. Yeah, no bueno. But now I'm just going to put the plants in and then we'll backfill in. I remember when Noel Bartholomew started his square foot gardening thing, he talked about how it was so much better than the back-breaking work of traditional gardening. And now I know why I do square foot gardening. This is horrible. So I got just 3 rows done and my back and my knees are saying no more, no mas. So still got 4 rows to do, but I'm going to do them later on. Come back, I'm actually thinking I'm going to do the post hole, go get my post hole digger and come back and do it that way, because digging a trench really sucks. So got 3 in and taking a break. Part of the problem is this soil is really wet from all that rain we had last week. So we've got it started. We've got the onions in, if I didn't kill too many stepping on them. And we got 3 rows of potatoes in, so that's 18 plants so far. I ended up coming back with a post hole digger, and my goodness, it was just so much easier using the post hole digger. So we got 4 more rows in, 2, 3, and then 4. And then these were the 3 that took me like 2+ hours to do. So in about a half hour, it took me to do 4 rows with the post hole digger when it took me 4 times as long using a shovel. So, and I wasn't tired or sore after doing them. If you're gonna do this, use the right tools. So we'll keep an eye on them. Nothing looks like it died overnight, so that's good. And we're ready to go for the next phase. We'll be putting peppers down here and I think tomatoes in like these 2 beds. What's going in that bed and over there around the strawberry plant, not quite sure. Maybe we'll put like a one of the vining plants, like a pumpkin or a watermelon or something like that over there. But yeah, the potatoes are in, the onions are in. So we've won the first war in the battle for a victory garden. Newsflash, I'm not as young as I used to be. 61 going on 83. Oh my goodness. And that was one of the harder parts, was just digging up that soil. It was just so heavy. And then having to bend over and put those plants in the ground, and you don't need to hear me complain. So yes, I definitely prefer square foot gardening to the traditional methods of having to dig up the ground. Well, we've got the community garden plots started, so that's a start. So if you like what you see, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe and hit that notification bell, and that way you'll be able to follow along on the progress on all of our vegetables as we try to grow a supermarket in our own backyard and in our victory garden. Okay, thanks for watching.